Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cinecaliber. So last month, my wife and I actually got a rare movie night to ourselves. Most of the time, we're watching family stuff with the kids, but since it's October and we were in the mood for something spooky, we decided to check out The Black Phone 2. We were both big fans of the first film. It was this psychological horror that really surprised us back in 2021. So naturally, expectations were pretty high going into the sequel. And while it's not as quite as gripping as the original, I'd still say it manages to hold its own as a decent follow-up. Now for the plot summary, set a few years after the events of the first movie, The Black Phone 2 picks up with Finney and his sister Gwen both trying to move forward after everything they went through with the grabber. Things seem normal at first, until Gwen starts having unsettling visions again. And this time, they're connected to a series of disappearances at a remote winter camp. Naturally, the siblings find themselves pulled into another mystery that feels eerily familiar, blurring the line between past, trauma, and something much more supernatural. It's a continuation that tries to expand the world rather than just retell it, which I appreciated. Now, here is some background information of this film for all you film nerds out there. The Black Phone 2 was greenlit after the first movie's surprise success, with Scott Derrickson returning to direct and co-write alongside C. Robert Cargill. The original story was based on a short by Joe Hill, who happens to be Stephen King's son. While the sequel isn't directly adapted from any of Hill's other works, he did stay involved as an executive producer and helped shape the idea of continuing Finney and Gwen's story. The movie was produced by Blumhouse Productions and Crooked Highway, with Universal Pictures handling distribution. Filming ran from November 2024 to January 2025, mainly in Ontario, Canada, including Toronto and Mississauga. Derrickson and cinematographer Parr M. Ekberg drew inspiration from real-life winter camps Derrickson attended in the early 80s, which explains the film's snowy, isolated vibe. It's a clever move, shifting from the summer neighborhood setting of the first film to a cold, foggy camp helps the sequel carve out its own visual identity. Now let's talk about what was a hit with this film, guys, the good. The film's, for first off, the film's visual and atmospheric work is easily its strongest element. Derrickson and Ekberg nail its tone with haunting cinematography, foggy forests, frozen lakes, dimly lit cabins. Everything feels claustrophobic yet beautiful. Instead of relying purely on jump scares, the film builds unease through its environment. The dream and vision sequences are also a major standout here. They have the 70s, 80s retro horror aesthetic with Super 8 film grain and analog inserts that make each vision sequence feel distinct and eerie. It's a subtle but effective creative choice that helps separate dream logic from reality. And performance-wise, Ethan Hawke's return as the grabber is chilling as ever. He's used more sparingly this time, but every time he's on screen, you feel it. There's a restrained menace to his presence that continues to linger long after he's gone. Madeline McGraw, who plays Gwen, really shines here. The sequel shifts a bit more focus to her character, and it really pays off. Gwen's strength and sensitivity makes her a compelling protagonist, and her relationship with Finney, played again by Mason Thames, gives the film emotional grounding that the first one occasionally lacked. I also appreciate the movie doesn't just rehash the same story. Instead of a prequel or a direct repeat, it builds on the mythology surrounding the grabber, expanding the supernatural elements and filling in some of the blanks from the original without over-explaining everything. Now we're going to get into what was a miss here, guys, the bad. That said, like in any other film, The Black Phone 2 definitely has its shortcomings. The biggest one is tone and pacing. The first film thrived on slow burn psychological tension, that quiet, dripping dread. The sequel, by contrast, leans heavier into overt supernatural horror. It's faster paced, sure, but it loses some of the eerie restraint that made the original so memorable. The middle act, in particular, drags under the weight of exposition. There's a lot of explaining here. Visions, mythology, background details, and it bogs down the momentum just when the things start to ramp up in the narrative. Supporting cast also doesn't leave much of an impression. Aside from Gwen and Finney, most of the side characters feel underdeveloped or unnecessary, almost like they're just filling space rather than contributing to the story. Then there's the shift in tone. The more the grabber becomes mythologized, gosh, can't say that word, the less terrifying he actually feels. Once the film leans fully into its supernatural angle, it starts to lose the raw, grounded fear that made the first movie so effective. It's not bad, but it definitely feels less personal and more stylized, almost drifting into Nightmare on Elm Street territory by the end. Well, that said, guys, would be the conclusion. So overall, The Black Phone 2 is a solid but not spectacular sequel. It's got ambition, strong visuals, a unique setting, and committed performances, but it doesn't quite capture the tight suspense or emotional weight of the first film. Still, for a spooky October watch, it's an entertaining follow-up that expands the lore without completely losing sight of what made the original special. I'd say it's worth seeing if you enjoyed the first one or just want a chilling, atmospheric horror flick this Halloween season. With all that said, I would have to give this film a final rating of a 6.5 out of 10. But with all that said, guys, thanks for watching this Cinecaliber review of The Black Phone 2, if you have. Like always, if you guys seen this film, let me know what you thought. Did it live up to the original for you, or did it fall short? I was kind of in the middle. I liked it, but I also had some issues with it. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out my other horror reviews right here on this channel as they come about.